Most men completely miss the moment a woman stops being polite and starts becoming emotionally available. They think attraction is loud, obvious, dramatic. But the truth is, when a woman genuinely wants to get closer to you, she rarely says it directly. Not because she's playing games, because attraction for most women is emotional before it's verbal. And the craziest part? The signals are usually hidden inside normal conversations. A simple sentence, a certain tone, a subtle shift in energy. Miss it, and the moment disappears. Catch it, and suddenly everything changes. Here's where it gets interesting. A woman who feels drawn to you often begins testing emotional safety before anything else. Not looks, not money, not status, safety. And no, not the boring kind most men think about. Emotional safety means she can relax around you without feeling judged, pressured, or manipulated. Most men don't realize this, but attraction grows fastest when a woman feels understood without needing to explain herself constantly. That's why the phrase she says usually isn't explicit at all. It's indirect, soft, almost invisible, and yet it reveals everything. You've probably heard it before and ignored it. Maybe she says, "I feel really comfortable around you." Sounds harmless, right? But pay attention to this part. Women rarely use comfort language around men they feel emotionally closed off from. If she repeatedly tells you she feels calm around you, safe around you, or strangely relaxed around you, she's revealing something deeper. Because emotional comfort is often the doorway to physical closeness. Not instantly, not automatically, but psychologically, it matters more than most men understand. Think about the difference. A woman can find a man attractive and still never want deeper intimacy with him. But if she feels emotionally safe and mentally stimulated at the same time, attraction starts evolving into desire. That's the shift most men never notice. And this is where they ruin it. The second they sense attraction, they become performative. Suddenly they try too hard. Their voice changes. Their behavior changes. They start chasing certainty instead of staying present. Women notice that immediately. Attraction collapses when a man becomes needy for validation. But the man who remains grounded, that's the man she keeps thinking about later. Imagine this scenario. You're talking late at night. The conversation slows down naturally. There's no pressure, no forced flirting. Then she suddenly says, "I don't usually talk to people this much." That sentence means more than most men realize. Why? Because women protect emotional access carefully. Attention is emotional investment. Time is emotional investment. If she's consistently opening emotional space for you, especially during quiet moments, she's slowly inviting you into her private world. And private world access matters a lot. Most attraction doesn't begin with dramatic chemistry. It begins with emotional exclusivity. She starts treating you differently from everyone else. Longer conversations, more curiosity, more vulnerability, more subtle invitations into her routine. Then another phrase appears. "Why do I feel like I've known you forever?" Now pause for a second. That line is not random. Psychologically, familiarity creates emotional bonding. When a woman says this, she's describing emotional synchronization. Your energy feels emotionally predictable to her, comfortable, familiar, natural, and human beings are deeply drawn to emotional familiarity. Here's the twist most men miss. Women often communicate attraction through emotional positioning instead of direct statements. Men usually express desire linearly. Women often express it relationally, meaning she reveals closeness through emotional language before anything physical ever happens. That's why subtle phrases matter. And there's one behavior almost nobody talks about. When a woman starts creating future moments with you in conversation. Pay attention to this. If she casually says things like, "You'd actually love this place," or "We should try that someday," she's mentally placing you into her future experiences. That's not accidental. Attraction naturally creates projection. The mind begins imagining shared moments before the person even realizes it consciously. Most men don't realize this because they focus too much on surface flirting. But attraction is rarely just flirting. Sometimes it's investment. Sometimes it's emotional availability. Sometimes it's simply her wanting the conversation to continue longer than necessary. That matters more than you think, especially today. Because people protect their energy aggressively now. Attention is expensive. Emotional openness is expensive. So when a woman keeps extending interaction with you voluntarily, there's usually emotional motivation behind it. But here's where things become dangerous for most men. The moment they feel a woman pulling closer emotionally, they rush the process. They force tension, force labels, force outcomes, and the entire emotional rhythm collapses. Why? Because attraction grows in space, not pressure. A woman wants to feel your confidence without feeling your agenda. That changes everything. The men women become deeply attracted to are often the men who understand emotional pacing. Men who don't panic during silence. Men who don't need constant reassurance. Men who can hold eye contact without trying to prove anything. Calmness is magnetic, especially today. Most people are emotionally chaotic, constantly seeking attention, constantly forcing reactions. A grounded man stands out immediately because emotional steadiness feels rare, and women feel that energy before they analyze it logically. Here's another phrase that reveals more than it seems. "I can be myself around you." That sentence is massive because attraction deepens when emotional masks disappear. If she feels free to relax her image around you, that means she trusts your perception of her. Women do not emotionally open themselves to men they feel judged by. Think about that carefully. Trust always comes before genuine closeness. Not performance, not manipulation. Trust. That's why some men, who are not the loudest or most conventionally attractive, still create incredibly strong attraction. Women feel emotionally seen around them, heard around them, accepted around them, and acceptance is powerful. But don't misunderstand this. Being emotionally safe does not mean becoming passive, weak, or overly agreeable. That's another mistake men make. Attraction still requires polarity, presence, direction, confidence. Emotional safety without confidence becomes friendship energy. Confidence without emotional safety becomes temporary excitement without depth. The balance is everything. And women are constantly sensing that balance subconsciously. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Sometimes the strongest signs of attraction appear through curiosity. She asks unusually specific questions. She wants your opinions, your perspective, your reactions, not because she's bored, because emotionally invested people naturally seek psychological access. They want to understand how you think, what excites you, what hurts you, what drives you. That curiosity is intimacy growing in real time. Most men completely overlook this because they expect attraction to always look seductive. But often it looks attentive instead. A woman deeply interested in you listens differently. Her energy slows down, her focus sharpens, and she remembers tiny details you forgot mentioning. That is emotional investment. An emotional investment changes behavior. Suddenly she replies faster. Suddenly she extends conversations. Suddenly she finds reasons to reconnect. None of this is random. Human beings naturally move toward what emotionally stimulates them. Now here comes the part nobody tells men. Women often reveal desire through comfort mixed with tension. Not pure tension alone, Movies taught men that attraction is all sparks and intensity. Real life is more subtle. The strongest attraction usually feels emotionally smooth, with moments of tension underneath. Like a calm conversation with hidden electricity inside it. You feel it. She feels it. But nobody says it directly. And honestly, that's what makes it powerful. Because unspoken attraction creates anticipation. And anticipation is psychologically addictive. That's why late night conversations become meaningful so quickly. The world gets quieter, defenses lower, emotional honesty increases. People reveal parts of themselves they normally hide during the day. Pay attention to who she becomes at night. That version is often closer to her emotional truth. If she consistently chooses you during emotionally vulnerable hours, that means something. A lot, actually. Especially if she begins opening emotional doors slowly. Maybe she shares insecurities. Maybe she talks about past disappointments. Maybe she suddenly asks deeper questions about relationships, connection, or trust. Most men panic here. They either become therapists or try to impress her with solutions. But women usually aren't testing your problem-solving ability in these moments. They're observing your emotional presence. Can you listen without trying to control the moment? Can you stay grounded without becoming emotionally distant? Can you handle vulnerability calmly? That matters, more than clever lines ever will. Because emotional maturity creates attraction that lasts beyond surface chemistry. And here's something most men never notice. A woman who genuinely wants deeper closeness often begins mirroring your energy unconsciously. Your speech patterns, your humor, your pace, your phrases. Psychologists call this emotional synchronization. Humans naturally mirror people they feel connected to emotionally. So if you notice her adopting your expressions or rhythm, pay attention. Attraction leaves patterns. Now let's talk about the phrase that quietly changes everything. I miss talking to you. Simple words, but emotionally loaded. Because missing someone means emotional attachment formed during absence. Your presence affected her emotional state enough that she noticed the difference when you weren't there. That's huge. And yet most men either overreact or completely ignore it. The emotionally intelligent man understands something important. Attraction grows strongest when it feels emotionally effortless. Not forced, not chased, not negotiated, effortless. That doesn't mean passive. It means natural, mutual, unpressured. Women are constantly evaluating how they feel around you emotionally. More than what you say, more than what you wear, more than your rehearsed lines. Feelings create memory, and memory creates attachment. That's why some men remain unforgettable without trying hard. Their presence feels emotionally distinct, calm, grounded, safe, challenging, present. Most men only focus on attraction as excitement. But emotional regulation is part of attraction too. A woman feels closer to the man whose energy she trusts. And trust is built in small moments. Consistency, attention, patience, emotional awareness. That's the hidden psychology nobody talks about, because real attraction rarely announces itself loudly. It reveals itself gradually, through comfort, curiosity, emotional openness, future projection, and subtle language. Not dramatic confessions, not movie scenes. Real life is quieter than that, and honestly, more powerful. Now here's the final insight that changes how you see all of this. A woman usually doesn't move closer because a man convinced her logically. She moves closer because being around him feels emotionally better than being away from him. Read that again. That's the core of attraction: emotion, presence, experience, not performance. Most men spend their entire lives trying to say the perfect thing. But the men women feel deeply drawn toward usually create something far more powerful than perfect words. They create emotional atmosphere, a feeling, and feelings are remembered long after conversations end. So the next time a woman says she feels comfortable around you, misses talking to you, feels strangely connected to you, or keeps finding reasons to stay in your presence a little longer than necessary, don't just hear the words. Hear the emotional meaning underneath them. Because attraction often whispers before it speaks loudly, and the men who understand that rarely need to chase anything. Pay attention to the energy people consistently return to. That truth alone will change how you see human connection forever. And once you understand it, you'll start noticing things most men never even see.